Hey, friend. Welcome back to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. I am Heather. I've been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009, which makes my show the original Tudor podcast. This channel is where I put all of my episodes from all of my shows, as well as tons of extra videos like this video right here. Today, we are going to look at the Boleyn family tree. A lot of times in pop culture and in TV shows and stuff, Anne Boleyn is portrayed as not somebody who is of noble birth or kind of like a step down for Henry. And it's true, she certainly was not of the high nobility, but she had a Howard in her family that was her uncle. So it's not like she was a nobody, which is how sometimes she's portrayed. So today we're going to look back in her family tree, going all the way back to her great grandfather, Geoffrey, who was the first one to really start climbing the social ladder. Before we get started, though, if you're not already subscribed to this channel and you like Tudor history, why not go ahead and hit subscribe so you never miss a video I put out? All right. So before Queen Anne Boleyn ever graced Henry VIII's court and lost her head in spectacular fashion, her ancestors were busy climbing the social ladder from modest cloth merchants to members of London's elite. The Boleyn story is anything but humble when you look at these grand arcs of ambition, marriage alliances, and strategic land grabs. So settle in and let's go back and look at the ancestry behind one of the most famous names of the Tudor period. Our story begins in the lush countryside near Blickling in Norfolk. Rolling fields of green dotted with sheep and small market towns bustling with cloth traders and weavers. Here, among the humble ranks of hardworking families, we find Geoffrey Boleyn the Elder, Anne's great-great-grandfather. We don't have much of a biography of his earliest years, but it's clear that he knew exactly how to spin opportunity into success just as skillfully as local spinners worked their wool. Geoffrey got his start in the textile industry, particularly in the broadcloth trade. In the 15th century, cloth was a serious business. The better you wove and sold, the more coin you collected, and coin meant upward mobility. It didn't take long for Geoffrey to earn enough prestige and money to marry an heiress, an Alice Bracton. Fast forward a generation to Geoffrey Boleyn the Younger, the first real superstar of the family. He was apprenticed by his father to a London hatter, which at first might not sound particularly grand, but young Geoffrey had bigger dreams than trimming felt hats for the city dandies. He joined the Mercers' Company, one of London's premier civic guilds, where he discovered his true calling, the trading of luxury goods. Silks, velvets, spices. If it was expensive, exotic, and in demand, Geoffrey had a hand in bringing it home to eager English buyers. In 1453, he threw the most amazing, lavish dinner at his Cheapside Manor. It actually was enough to propel him to become the Lord Mayor of London. I cannot even imagine what a dinner that must have been. Talk about leveling up. But Geoffrey wasn't going to be one to rest on his fancy titles alone. As soon as he had made his first fortune, he looked for another, banking and money lending, particularly to powerful folks like courtiers and noble families. He extended credit and mortgages to nobles and courtiers. He also took on the debts of the Genoese Mercantile Company in London. He charged them an exorbitant, for the time, 14% interest. This knack for financing didn't just line Geoffrey's pockets, it also enabled him to purchase prime real estate in Norfolk, Kent, and in London. And among these prized acquisitions was Blickling, which would become the Boleyn family's pride and joy. So that was Anne Boleyn's great-grandfather. Now, Geoffrey, our ambitious Lord Mayor, wasn't content to dabble in peppercorns and mortgages. After his first wife, Denise, passed away, Geoffrey Boleyn the Younger married a Lady Anne who was the daughter of Sir Thomas who was a figure who had fought valiantly in the 100 Years' War, was honored as Lord Who and Hastings. This union was, shall we say, another stabby marriage for the Boleyns. By aligning himself with a family well connected at the court, Geoffrey catapulted the Boleyn name even higher in society. No longer were the Boleyns simply wealthy merchants, they were stepping confidently into the realm of true gentry. Geoffrey was also keen on investing in land. He knew real estate was the currency of power in late medieval England. In 1452, he acquired Blickling from Sir John Fastolf. Those of you who know Shakespeare will recognize that name. It was actually adapted into Falstaff in Shakespeare's history plays. Though there were a few hiccups and wrangles over the annuities, by the time he was finished, the Boleyns could boast not just money, but also a genuine ancestral seat, every ambitious family's dream. And with that, Geoffrey passed away in 1463, leaving behind sons and daughters and a legacy of upward mobility. Among Geoffrey and Anne, whose children, was William Boleyn, who inherited more than just ambition. He inherited a key to the Anglo-Irish earldom of Ormond through his wife, Margaret Butler. Margaret's father, Thomas Butler, who was the 7th Earl of Ormond, left behind a tangled inheritance that had multiple claimants snapping at each other's heels. Even after William married Margaret, the Boleyns still had to outmaneuver rival branches of the Butler clan. Fast forward to the early 1520s. By this time, Thomas Boleyn, who was Anne's father, was determined to cement the Ormond claim once and for all. The proposed solution was a marriage between Anne and James Butler, who was also a direct heir to the earldom. The plan aimed to fuse both families' Ormond claims, neatly sidestepping endless courtroom dramas. Of course, history had other ideas. Anne soon fell into Henry VIII's orbit, and that derailed the whole Butler betrothal. But this is where that Butler betrothal comes from. A lot of times you read about Anne Boleyn and you hear that she's coming back from France to marry into this Butler family, and that is where that comes from. By connecting himself to this Ormond family, William increased the Boleyn sphere of influence on both sides of the Irish Sea. But this wasn't just about titles and lands. It also opened up a pathway to the royal court itself, since the Butlers had long-standing ties to the crown. William was never one to miss an opportunity. He purchased and rehabbed properties, schemed for further acquisitions, and secured his children's place in the social hierarchy. He was eventually knighted, forging stronger ties between Henry VII's new Tudor regime after the dust settled from the Wars of the Roses. And then there's Thomas Boleyn, who was William's son. He was born at Blickling in the late 1470s. He also had a brief flirtation with studying law, but he was much more interested in honing the graces needed to shine at court, and shine he did. By Henry VIII's time, he was an experienced diplomat, frequently traveling abroad, rubbing elbows with the most influential figures in Europe, and making an impression even on the young King Henry himself. Thomas married Elizabeth Howard, who was the daughter of the mighty Duke of Norfolk's family, another masterstroke in social climbing marriages. This alliance brought him right into the heart of Tudor politics, and it also provided the perfect opportunity for his children to mingle with royalty. Among these children, it all led up to Anne Boleyn, who was ready to become one of the most central figures in English history. So by the time Anne stepped into the court of Henry VIII, she was the product of generations of forward-thinking Boleyns who leveraged cloth, trade, strategic marriages, and landed estates to elevate themselves from Norfolk clothiers to courtiers in the king's inner circle. In a sense, Anne's own meteoric rise and tragic downfall was part of her ancestors' relentless pursuit of upward mobility. Of course, no family ambitions could have prepared them for just how entwined their fate would become with the future of England itself. But the Boleyns did not do things by halves, and Anne Boleyn was about to prove it to the world. So there we have it, a little bit about the ancestry and family tree of Anne Boleyn and these upward mobility, upward marriages that her family experienced that brought them from these humble merchants to courtiers. I've been reading Hunting the Falcon by John Guy and Julia Fox, and there's a really good section on her childhood and her family tree and where she comes from. And so I highly, you see, I've got lots of notes in here for future videos and episodes and things like that. And so we will leave it there for right now. If you made it this far in the video and enjoyed it, I sure would appreciate a press of that like button. It helps to feed the algorithm and get our content to even more people. And I hope I earned your subscription to my channel, where I put out videos like this on the regular. You can also become a member of the channel to get extra content, audio courses, live chats with authors, things like that too. So you can check that out and just click join this channel to see the tears and how to dig even deeper. You get cool emojis, all kinds of cool stuff. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to keep binging on Tudor content, here's a video on Anne Boleyn's relationship with Thomas Cromwell that I think you will enjoy. Or here's one that YouTube thinks you'll like. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, you are deeply loved. I am so glad I share the planet with you. I will be back soon. Don't forget to drink your water. Bye-bye.